Good morning and welcome back to the Livingston Parish News Morning Show. My name is McHugh David, publisher and editor of the news. Appreciate you guys joining us this morning. If you're watching us live on Facebook, thank you for that. If you are checking us out anywhere else, we do upload these shows to www.livingstonparishnews.com/podcast. They are free to watch there. You can check them out at your leisure. I suppose you could say we have audio and video versions for you to check out. Hope you're having a great Monday morning. We're going to jump right into it today. Minor delays on 64 heading into Central with some heavier delays if you take a left there on Greenville Springs. Your on-ramps, some minor delays this morning getting onto I-12. However, I-12 is flowing, so it's a good sign. Delays kind of along 190, 447 and 190, as well as Jubin Road and 190, having some minor delays this morning, but nothing crazy, nothing out of the ordinary, as well as 4-H Club Road, River Road, and 190. They're on the western side of the parish, also having a little bit of delay, but nothing necessarily out of the ordinary. It's currently 80 degrees, 92 degrees is your high today, 76 your overnight low. It's going to be partly cloudy today. A 30% chance of rain this afternoon between the 12 and 5 p.m. hour. Not looking real, I guess you can say likely that it's going to rain, but there is a chance. Might want to pack an umbrella on your way to work. Not much going on at the legislature with regard to those insurance rate changes. Looking at today, Monday, and tomorrow through 6 p.m., that would be Tuesday, before the session ends. The budget, however, has passed the Senate. I'm looking to send that over to the House today, get that out sometime today or tomorrow for the governor to sign before 6 p.m. tomorrow. Now remember, the legislature has said that they already intend to meet sometime in the fall to kind of see how the rest of the economic fallout plays out from COVID-19. So we're going to see. We're going to have some time to wait for that. However, again, the legislature is trying to push some kind of budget through by 6 p.m. tomorrow night. That way the state can begin operations. Right now it's looking like a $35 billion budget. It does have some federal funding in it. Not a whole lot of discussion, not a whole lot of argument on the Senate floor. So going to be interesting to see what happens as it hits the House floor. Of course, the House being a little more chaotic. If it does pass the House, it will be shipped to the governor's desk for signature. Again, it is not midnight on Tuesday. It is 6 p.m. tomorrow. So the House has until 6 p.m. tomorrow to vote it and send it up. Now, if there are amendments, it will go back to the Senate. So we'll see what happens today. But again, not a whole lot going on in terms of information for those insurance rate changes for vehicle or auto insurance. So we're going to see if maybe they try to push something through the Senate or the House sometime over the next, what would that be, 36 hours? But we're going to have to wait and see. We'll find out sometime before tomorrow night. Of course, they could try to address that, I think, in the fall, but as of right now, they're really looking at financial issues. Kind of ran out of time. There was some good news for folks over the weekend. The Trump administration had a big win in United States District Court. In 2019, President Donald Trump issued an executive order to the Department of Health and Human Services stating that hospitals would now be mandated to release specific cost information to their patients to give patients a better idea of what they were paying for, kind of that line item bill that a lot of people like to look for from the hospital. It takes a little bit of effort to get it out. Well, the president said that is now going to be a requirement. However, the American Hospital Association pushed back against the administration and said, we're not going to require hospitals to do this. The Trump administration then turned around and took them to court. The Trump administration won. And so the judge ruled that the American Hospital Association was pushing back against transparency for consumers, and that hospitals would be required to release that pricing information. Now, when that starts, it could be immediately, it could be next year. Not entirely sure of those details just yet. One of the things that will be interesting to see is itemized bills with regard to COVID-19. A lot of people have seen on the news and especially on social media people posting their bills post-hospital after having dealt with COVID-19. Upwards for some people who stayed 2 weeks or so, anywhere from $100,000 to $200,000, even seeing some out there in other states as high as $800,000. So it's going to be very interesting to see how hospitals handle a bill like that, where they have to, or a mandate like that, where they have to issue a full itemized bill with exact pricing for customers, or patients rather, after they leave. So again, big win for the Trump administration in U.S. District Court. They could, of course, the American Hospital Association could, of course, appeal. It'll be there's a couple more steps that would have to happen before either this is enforced or they appeal it. So we're going to find out, but it's a big first step for patients who are looking for a more clear idea of what kind of care they're getting and how much it costs while they're in the hospital. Getting into your coronavirus statistics this morning, 56,236 cases statewide, 3,086 deaths, 39,792 have recovered. That's a great number. Excuse me. In Livingston, let's talk about your test real quick, because this is a big deal. 696,000 tests. So far have surpassed that testing mark that we as a state were looking for, which was about 4.7%. Here in this month, we've done about, we might even hit over the next 2 days 400,000 tests in the month of June. So quite a big testing surge this month. Did really well to stay on top of that situation. 715 are hospitalized, so that number is trending upwards. It is a concern to the governor and the Department of Health. So, they'll be keeping an eye on that, as well as 76 on ventilators. So ventilators are not rising quite as much as hospitalizations are. We had gotten into the low 500s with regard to hospitalizations. Now we are back up into the 700s. We're going to see if that number continues to rise, or if we can kind of get a hold of it, get it to go back down. Hoping it's part B. 846 cases, 37 deaths, and 11,200 tested here in Livingston Parish. Now, I want to remind folks of these mitigation efforts. Wash your hands with soap and water for 20 seconds or more. Disinfect common surfaces at home and at your office. Wear a mask if at all possible. Control your cough and sneezing with elbow or a tissue. Don't touch your face, my favorite one. 6 feet or more of distance between yourself and others. 25 or less to a gathering, preferably less. And stay home if you are sick, utilizing telehealth to get in touch with your doctor, and stay home to work if at all possible. The Louisiana Senate, getting into kind of some of your coronavirus-related headlines. The Louisiana Senate has approved the $250 bonus for essential workers. They've set aside $50 million for this. It's going to go into the House before it heads to the governor, but you must have made $50,000 or less as an essential worker and worked 200 hours or more between March 22nd and May 14th. So looking at about a 7-week period there to get 200 hours in. And again, you must have made $50,000 or less to be eligible for that $250 hazard pay from the state. Again, that'll be for essential workers, those who were deemed, they have to work during this time. And they, a lot of people, especially industry, energy production, utility production, that kind of thing, had to go to work. So those are going to be the kind of people that are approved. Now, we have to wait for this to go through the House, and then the governor has to sign off on it. But again, about $50 million has been set aside for a $250 hazard pay for those who were deemed essential and had to work through the coronavirus pandemic. Good morning, Miss Karen. Yes, it is. It's July 4th week, so happy July 4th to you folks as we barrel towards that date. A lot of people have been very interested. I was about to say kind of interested. That is not true. I know we don't usually use qualifiers here, but it has been a very huge portion of interest, which is school guidelines coming up for this 2020-2021 school year. Now, one of the things that the Louisiana Department of Education has stated is that a lot of this is going to be up to individual school districts how they choose to handle it. So we're going to be trying to get with school administration after they get past all these graduations, which run through Thursday of this week. get through the July 4th, and then we're going to try to see. I would imagine at that point they're going to be releasing some information on how they choose to handle it. A lot of it is going to depend on what kind of phase we're in when school starts. That is mentioned in there. So let's dive into some of this stuff. You're looking at temperature checks when children arrive to school, potential for masks, and gathering limits. And of course, those gathering limits are going to be dependent on what phase we're in. So if we move to phase 3, well, maybe you can get up to about 50 kids and do PE or something like that. Maybe you can have those gatherings in the early morning. As of right now, we are, of course, still in phase 2. That's 25 or less to a gathering. We did not move into phase 3, as we all know. They'll be researching that data probably, or data, however you'd like to put it, probably next week. To kind of look at and see if maybe we can move forward. July 4th weekend is coming up this weekend. It's going to make a big difference as to where we go as a state. We had Memorial Day, which caused things to start moving up, and then the protests and some people starting to get back outside after Memorial Day has started to push these cases upward. So we are looking to see where the state's going to go over the next 4 weeks. That's going to depend, or that's going to affect how schools treat this quite a bit. The Louisiana Department of Education has recommended that schools and school districts throughout the state be prepared for either normal return to school, perhaps with some caveats, as we mentioned, temperature checks, masks, limits on gathering, social distancing in the classroom. They are also recommending they be prepared for distance learning, so this could still happen, or a hybrid of the two. Perhaps they platoon 3 days out of the week and then do distance learning on Thursday and Friday. Time will tell. Many parents, however, are concerned in a lot of different areas, so it's going to be interesting to see how that affects school attendance. Many parents think that their children should return to school. Many parents, their children have to return to school because of their work environment for the parents. Many parents say, I'm not sending my kid back to school at all, and there are still even more parents that are kind of on the fence. They're sort of waiting to see what will happen over the next couple of weeks. But these guidelines are very in-depth. They are, of course, guidelines. They're not rules. So it's going to be interesting to see how the local school board handles these things. For some schools, a lot of this is already in place. For larger schools, it's going to be a little more difficult. So again, things like temperature checks, masks, gathering limits, and social distancing are kind of sort of the major players in these guidelines. Could be prepared for a normal return to school, distance learning, or a hybrid of the two. We'll learn more in the coming weeks. And good morning, Mr. Tracy Girlinghouse, Parish Councilman from District 7. Thanks for joining us this morning. Speaking of schools, Senator Cassidy has introduced a bipartisan bill at the Senate level to try to help schools affect some of these guidelines and kind of get back going. It's about $1.8 million per district is sort of the estimate of sort of that ramping up cost of getting teachers back, administrators back, and getting those students back in the classroom. So they've introduced a bill wherein just about every district would get something like $1.8 million from the federal government to help them get back started. Of course, as we discussed, some of those mitigation efforts, especially here in Livingston Parish, will require money that they may not have. So $1.8 million may help them acquire thermometers or temperature checking equipment. May help them acquire masks for those students that don't have them. It may help, affect social distancing by, gathering different kinds of desks or things of that nature. So again, about $1.8 million per district. Now this bill has just been introduced. It's still got a long way to go. We've talked a lot about the life of a bill. Again, only been introduced at the federal level. We will see where it goes. With Ms. Regina. Thank you for joining us. Unfortunately, good morning. Thanks for joining us. We are going to wrap it up here with your coronavirus statistics one more time, mitigation efforts, and then we'll do your traffic and weather. 56,236 cases, 3,086 deaths, 39,792 have recovered, 696,000 tests statewide. That's a great number. That means we've expanded our testing capacity quite a bit. 715 are hospitalized on 76 ventilators. In Livingston Parish, 846 cases, 37 deaths, 11,200 deaths. Remember these mitigation efforts. Wash your hands for 20 seconds or more with soap and water. Disinfect common surfaces at home and at the office. Wear a mask in public if at all possible. Control your sneezing or your cough with an elbow or a tissue. Don't touch your face. My favorite one. 6 feet or less of distance, or 6 feet or more of distance between yourself and others in public. 25 or less to a gathering. Stay home if you're sick and utilize telehealth to get in touch with your doctor, or stay home to work if at all possible. Minor delays on 64 heading into Central, with some heavier delays on Greenwood Springs if you take a left right there. Your on-ramps, you're experiencing some heavy delays there. I-12 is flowing, however. 190 and Jubin, as well as 190 and 447, some minor delays as that traffic heads west into Baton Rouge. And, of course, you're looking at some minor delays at 4-H Club Road, River Road, and 190. But nothing out of the ordinary there. It's currently 80 degrees outside. It's a warm morning. 92 your high today. So it's not going to get that much warmer, but it is going to be hot. 76 degrees is going to be your overnight low. It's partly cloudy now. Looking at a pretty beautiful day. There's a chance of rain starting at noon, going through your 5 p.m. hour. It's about a 30% chance. Not likely, but best to put that umbrella in the car for this afternoon. It is Louisiana. We may just get a little shower that comes through. One last time, my name is McHugh David, publisher and editor of the news. Appreciate you joining us this morning for the Livingston Parish News Morning Show. Please remember we're on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram, and YouTube. We are once a week in print on Thursdays. Excuse me. Oof. Here we go. We are also online, www.livingstonparishnews.com. We have a breaking news page, which has all your legislative information. It is free. We have a coronavirus page, which is also free, has all your coronavirus information. We also have a podcast page, which is where we put these shows as well as our long-form podcasts online. We do have a couple of podcasts this week, and I'm pulling up my schedule just to be sure that I've got it right. Mr. Tracy Girlinghouse is joining us this morning and watching. I will be sitting down with him Thursday to discuss a couple of issues, the master plan being one of them. I'll also be sitting down with Mr. Gary Frog Talbert on Wednesday to talk about a new subdivision ordinance, or at least it's not new, but it's very amended. So he and I are going to be going through that. So looking forward to joining Mr. Girlinghouse on Thursday and Mr. Talbert on Wednesday. Otherwise, we do hope you folks have a great day. Please try to stay dry, and we will see you tomorrow morning.